Well, Gene's a lot more pressure than Multiple Man, but look, you know, they're not. Multiple Man is not a household name, as much as I love him. You know, it's a lot of pressure. I think I'm a lifelong X-Men fan, and the Dark Phoenix and the death of Jean and stuff are like, I learned to reading the Dark Phoenix stuff, so that was like a major book for me, and I take it very seriously, and I understand how passionate fans are, because I'm one of those fans. So it's pretty terrifying all the time, but it's awesome. It's a good terrifying, if that makes sense. You know, it's tricky. You don't want to, like, there are people who've read every appearance of Jean Grey, and I don't want to take time to be like, this is who Jean Grey is, because that's annoying. They don't want you to hold their hand. But I also want people who don't know the X-Men. That's super important that should be important to everyone. That's, you know, if people who don't understand who Jean Grey is aren't picking up the books, like, there won't be books in a few years. We need a new generation of readers. And so it's a tough balance. I always try and make all my stuff accessible to everyone, but if you know more, there's good meat underneath. So like you said, Peter David's X Factor, I'm a huge fan. It's in my top 5. Like, the X Factor investigation stuff is in my top 5 favorite comic series of all time. So, do you need to have read that? No. My hope is that when you read Multiple Man, you'll want to read it and discover a far superior take on Multiple Man to mine, and have 26 volumes or whatever Peter David did on that of just amazing Multiple Man comics. Like, that I think is always the goal, is to like move forward while still looking back and pointing people back. Like, that's what I try and do, at least. Yeah, it's me and Tyler Boss who drew 4 Kids. It is not tonally a spiritual successor, but I think people who liked 4 Kids will find a lot to like. 4 Kids was sort of me and Tyler are really close, and we love comics and we consume comics so much. We like experimenting and sort of pushing each other and ourselves to try new stuff. And so now that we did 4 Kids, people were like, oh, it's successful, do you want to do more? And we were like, no, we want to do something and try and reinvent ourselves and do something different. So it's like, there's stuff, if you like 4 Kids, there's stuff you like, but it's very different. It's a dystopian, like, coming-of-age story. It's less comedy. There's still a lot of comedy stuff in it, but it's less, like, slapsticky. And, it's a little darker of a book. But I hope people who like 4 Kids like it. We're sort of making it with those people in mind, but also being like, it's something completely different for you. We don't want to just keep feeding you this thing that you said you liked, if that makes sense. You know, it's, I worked in retail for 3 years, and, I worked in a shop specifically to sort of learn the landscape, to figure out. I didn't want to have to ask a store, hey, carry my book, if I didn't understand what that meant, if I didn't understand what it meant to order it and deal with diamond and all that stuff, and the risks that a store takes in carrying a book and promoting a book and what that means. But I think, the industry's, it's in a transitional period. It's very weird. I mean, people talk doom and gloom, and then I talk to some people and they're like, yeah, I've been in the industry for 20 years, and every year this is the last year comics will exist. And it's fascinating. I mean, we're here at a comic convention. There's, I don't know, 100.
It's sold out today.
Yeah, like 100,000 people here. There's lines of people to get books signed. It doesn't seem like anything is dying, and I know that there are shops having a hard time, and there are shops who are going through things, and there's a changing market. There's more YA stuff. There's more stuff that appeals to the book market, the non-traditional comics market, and the digital market. And those are all sort of fracturing. And so I think, like, trying to figure out where the industry's going, a lot of people who are a lot smarter than me are making those bets. My love is comic book stores. I think comic book shops are the heart of comics. I think that's the community, which is a big thing that I love in comics, is the sense of community and the sense of inclusion and welcomingness that comes from a comic shop, and how, you know, you go to any city and there's a comic shop and you can sort of be among your people and try and fit in, hopefully. And so that's a big thing for me. Like, we have books in digital and we have books in bookstores, and, Amazon carries my stuff, but like, I want people to buy stuff from comic book shops because I think that's real comics to me. And it's not a shot on webcomics or digital. That's just not what I grew up on. That's not what I'm passionate about. So I try and do what I can, and I think it's an exciting time. I mean, I came from the music industry before I was in comics, and I was in the music industry for the collapse of CDs and the rise of digital, and record stores were closing en masse and people were going bankrupt. And then there was the vinyl boom, and record stores started doing better and vinyl sales increased, and I think you see some of that in comic shops, and I think it's really exciting because it's not about, it's a subculture, it's a niche, and that's really fun, I think.